Welcome to Pianist Academy and this masterclass on Burgmüller's Opus 100, number 4, La Petite Réunion. Sometimes that's translated as the children's party or the little party. This masterclass is about taking your playing to the next level, so I'm not going to teach notes and rhythms here, but we will extensively cover practice tips, technique. We're going to talk through a few fingering choices and why they're important, and we'll finish with some ideas about interpretation. Okay, we're going to jump straight into working on this piece, and the first measure that I'd actually like to draw your attention to is measure 10. Okay, so if we look at measure 10, you'll notice, especially in the score that I have here, measure 10 is listed almost exclusively to be played with fingers 4 and 2, except for that first note, the B and the D that we have that starts off the bar. But all of the rest of these says 4, 2, and then those two little parallel lines, that just means continue on with the same fingering. So 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2. We get to the next bar, 5, 3. I think this is an incredibly important place to actually start especially our technical study of this etude, because the technique required to play 4-2 repeatedly in ascending or even descending thirds is going to help inform how we play all of the other thirds in this entire etude, regardless of the fingering choice that we either make or that our score gives us. So that's why I would suggest, even in some other scores, this measure 10, is listed as 1-3, 2-4, 5-3, and alternating. So, or 3-1, 4-2, 5-3, 3-1, 4-2, 5-3, 3-1, 4-2, 5-3. I would not make that choice. I would not make that choice because 4-2 can teach us so much about how to play these thirds. So the first thing that I'd like you to experiment with is actually a feeling of kind of shaking out the wrist as we play these thirds. So we're just going to pretend that we're going to start right on this one, the second in the grouping. So we're going to start on that note, C and E, and watch where my hand is positioned here. So as I play, my wrist is sitting up a little bit, and what's happening is I'm kind of almost letting the fingers dangle here. This is a more extreme example of the technique that I'm showing you right now. But if our wrist is up a little higher and our hand is completely loose, our fingers just dangle here. Now, if I introduce a little bit of holding of this and have the wrist come down just a little bit, the fingers are still loose and they're hanging here. They're not extended, right? And they're not curled. They're just loose and hanging. So we can always go back. You can do this two different ways. First off, we can, of course, let our hand come to rest, shake it out at our side down here, which I know you can't see right now, but if I lift that up, we get the perfectly relaxed hand shape. And if we lift it up with no tension in the wrist even, we get this shape, right? It's very relaxed, okay? We can also just go to this point, hold the hand up in the air, drop it from the wrist like this, drop it. We find this hand position. Now we're going to modify that slightly as it comes down to the keyboard. We're only going to have the wrist up a little bit. So if this is kind of our normal position where things are mostly parallel and flat, we're going to have the wrist raised just a little bit. Okay? Now when we do this and we start to play these ascending thirds in measure 10, what we're going to feel is a little preparation, a little preparatory motion up, just a little bit in the wrist, not in the fingers, and then a dropping or kind of shaking of the wrist down. So just playing the first of these thirds with 4-2 is like that. So you see there's a little preparation and then a drop or shake down. All we have to do is repeat this motion ascending up basically a C major scale, right? So if we go slowly, here's a drop and shake, next note, drop, shake, next note, drop, shake. And then even if we change fingers and go across the bar line to 5-3, same thing. We're going to come back to that topic in a second. Just do this passage of 4-2, wrist a little high, shake or drop. It's all of the notes with 4-2. And notice once more the preparation motion. If I just do the preparation and let it relax, there's just that little bit of motion. It's triggered by the wrist, not by the fingers pulling up. We don't want that, right? So just by the wrist, preparation, drop or shake in. okay? That is so much easier than trying to play 4-2, especially down here. If we play with the wrist too low, we lose the ability to really shake things out and keep them really loose. And especially if we start playing with other fingers right away, like 3-1, 4-2, 5-3, we can tend to play all of these thirds simply with finger articulation, which doesn't have any motion in the wrist and it doesn't have any motion in the arm. That lack of motion, while sometimes we may think of that as more efficient, and we're going to talk about another way of approaching these thirds in a second, when we have a lack of motion in certain parts of the body, that can also lead to tension creeping into the playing mechanism without us even knowing it, because anything that is not in motion is being held there by muscles. So that is why we're always attempting to find the most fluid way we can approach playing. Now that we've experienced that, we're going to add another little piece of technique to this method.